Yeah, just put it over there.
Hello, it has been quite a bit since I've released a video. It's been about 2 months, so I might be a little bit more camera shy than I was previously. But I am here to do the finale 6-month roundup that I'm sure all of you have been oh so excited for. I have seen a few people actually mentioning comments saying that I haven't posted in a while, and I appreciate you shaming me into oblivion, so I actually get up off my ass and make a video. But without further ado, let's get into the topic of said video. So as I briefly said, this is kind of a little finale, little finish to the whole Roundup series in general. I found them to be a little bit redundant after the second or third one. They were very much a lot of the same thing, except sharing the unique story from each month. So I think the 6-month mark is probably a good time to end it, kind of call this little chapter of our adventure done, and we can reflect back on it, and that'll be a little bit more interesting. And then going further with the YouTube channel, you'll probably see more one-off, more focused videos instead of the general 1-month roundup things that were kind of systematic, repetitive. Repetitive is probably a better word. But if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're more interested in the numbers than listening to me blather on about the different word usages that I don't have proper. Damn, that was rough. The first number we should go over is how much money did I make overall in 6 months doing computer flipping. This is purely the money earned through each computer sale, all added up to the end of the 6 months. Obviously, this is also taken away from any purchases, but that is in the inventory value, which we will go into later. But overall, the profit that we had for 6 months is $2,796. I almost forgot there. Which actually isn't that bad. Doesn't sound too overwhelming for 6 months of work. You generally don't want to walk away with just shy of $3,000, but that is money that kind of went into living expenses and, repairing the car and, general things of that nature. That is probably most of the money that didn't go into the actual business, because that money is in the inventory, which we will go over next. And then the sum of those two values, the inventory and the profit, the pure profit, add up to be the general value of the business as a whole, which I was aiming to add $1,000 in value each month, which we hit pretty dead on. So the inventory value was $3,420 at the end of my little 6 months. Again, this is from, I think, mid-October to mid-March is the time frame in which I was flipping computers. That is roughly 6 months, if I can do my math correctly. But if you add that inventory value and that profit, I keep forgetting the word profit, I don't know why, you get $6,216. So I think this number is probably the number to analyze a bit more closely. It shows the inventory, which is the money that was put back into the business and is currently of value, and it shows the profit that was earned that I kind of took out for myself for living, and it adds up all in one big sum. So overall, with 6 months of work, there was $6,000 and a little change to show for it, which correlates perfectly with earning $1,000 a month for the business. I imagine my hypothesis and my plan for going forward is the more money I have to work with, the easier it will be to build the business in general. For the first month that I was doing the computer flipping, I probably went in the hole, I think it was like $300 or $400. So I invested roughly like maybe $500 initially, and then slowly grew the business from there. Now when I'm going back into it after the 6 months, I'm probably going to be going into it with a $1,500 investment that I have not kicking around. That's probably not the right terminology, but I have saved away for this occasion. So I think it'll be a lot easier to hit the ground running, buy more things, not miss as many opportunities, see bigger growth each month. hopefully, obviously, with the whole COVID crisis going on, which is, I don't know when that's going to end, the demand and the opportunity to sell computers is probably fluctuating quite a bit. So it's a little bit of a guessing game to how well I'm going to be doing in the near future. But that is the way of business. Everything is up in the air. I think one of the quotes that comes to mind is, men make plans and God laughs. I think that's a pretty spot on quote right there. But anyway, we'll stop getting philosophical and start getting more nerdy. So there's a couple more numbers that I like to look at, mainly for my own personal amusement, but also you might find it rather amusing. I have a chart, or a graph, I guess is the correct term for it, that I like to refer to quite often. It is, the amount of days in 6 months, the dates on the x-axis. And then the profit of the business recorded daily on the y-axis. And this allows you to see, periods where the business doesn't grow, where it shoots up, where it shoots down, and then the average line going through it of how much per day the business earned in profit. This is not counting the inventory value, it is purely just the profit of the business. So if you look at that little average line from the from the middle of October to the middle of March, I've been earning roughly $20 a day, which isn't all that great. It might not sound all that bad, but one of my friends put it rather accurately, that if he makes roughly like $11 an hour, he only has to work 2 hours a day and then he's done. Where meanwhile, doing this sort of business thing, I was working roughly anywhere from like 8 to 10 hours a day. It's kind of like half working, like having things running in the background or checking like, Facebook Marketplace and eBay constantly. It's not so much of like I have to go lift a cement bag from A to B. It's more like, I constantly kind of have to have, it's just constantly having half of my mind separated to business thinking. I can't speak today. It's a little rough. I'm coming back. You gotta give me some leeway. But I think that number's kind of funny. It has been going up. It started out at like 12.3 or something, which wasn't all that inspiring. But I imagine that it will go up in time. I think I'm probably going to be starting a new chart as well, like a new organization system with the new section of the business. So that 6-month thing, I learned a lot about organization and keeping up with things and different tips and tricks kind of things that I don't know if it's really worthy of a video, but I'm definitely going to change because there was a lot of annoyances that I ran into that were self-inflicted annoyances, so I'd rather fix those and improve, which I guess is always the goal with these kind of things. Another number that was kind of cool is in total we did like $12,475 in sales over the 6 months. Mainly I sell like fully built computer systems, but occasionally I'll come by a motherboard or a graphics card that I don't really have a use for and I'll sell them kind of one-off. But for the most part, it's computer sales. But just kind of thinking that I've sold $12,000 worth of stuff in 6 months is kind of insane. Obviously, it was like what I did every day. So, I guess it's what to expect. But it kind of sounds fun. I don't know. That's a lot of money. But a lot of that did go back into the business. And there's expenses and shipping. And, it gets chipped away rather rapidly. That's one thing that I think I need to express in these kind of videos where we talk about the money of the business is not every single cent of that is just like money I get to hold in my hand and throw around and bathe in the bathtub with. Actually, we don't have a bathtub, so I guess I would just like throw it on the floor and wiggle around, which is very visually repulsive. So anyway, another number that was really fun is over the 6 months, I think I sold 22 computers, maybe 23. I forget exactly where I stopped. Definitely around the 10th computer mark, I started losing track of who I had sold to and what computer it was. Like up until that point, any one of my customers could have messaged me and I'd been like, oh yeah, this computer has this and that and this, and I forgot I cable tied this to that if you need to do this, and there's the key for this, and like it was much easier to have a handle on 10 computers than 22, especially when I started selling to, more and more strangers. So I think that was another big signal that I needed to improve my organization just a little bit more, or at least keep up with it. I don't think my system's all that bad, but I did get rather lazy about implementing it over and over again. So that'll probably be something I kind of whip myself into shape for the next time. And with the 22 computers that I sold, averagely, of course, there's outliers on either end. I made like maybe $300 or $400 on one computer, which I think was the pawn shop PC. I made almost $400 on, which is a great video. You should go check that out. You know, a little self-plug. But also, I would sell computers for $100 or maybe even cheaper, profit-wise, due to the fact that I was selling it to like a friend, or I was trading it with someone else, or something of that nature. But on average, with the 22 computers that I sold, it was anywhere from like $150 in profit to about $250 in profit, which isn't that bad. It kind of lines up with selling about 5 computers a month, which again was a goal that I had. That's about a computer every week if you want to break it down even further, which I found to be a pretty good goal. You have to push to make that happen, but it's not so much of a hustle that like everything else kind of falls apart. So I'm probably going to try and aim for 5 computers still. If I can increase my volume with more people or just more systems put in place, and maybe 6 or 7. Also, you do have to have the demand for it, so there's that to also consider. But I think starting out for this 6 months, if you're starting out for yourself and you need a little bit of advice, I think probably 5 computers a month and about $1,000 increase in the business is probably a really good mark to hit. I would say you're probably being successful at that point. I guess you could say that you're successful at any point that you're turning a profit, but I'd say $1,000 a month is probably a good goal to reach for initially. So that was the numbers of the 6 months. I'm going to go over the way that I did my organization in a more in-depth kind of focus video, because I can talk about that for quite a while, and I don't want my first video back to be 20-30 minutes long, even though it probably will be anyway. But that will probably come somewhat in the near future. Another thing I should mention is the Q&A that I was going to do at the end of the 6th month is still planned, but again, I'm not going to tag it on to the end of this video. It's going to have its own dedicated video. I have a bunch of old questions from people that I answered, and I feel like I can kind of like polish them up and give a more presented answer that might help more people. If you have questions, now would be the time to ask them. Comment section, email me, whichever way you want to go about contacting me. I am not the messiah of PC flipping. There have been people that have been doing it much longer than me, but I'm trying to be as transparent and as helpful as possible. So hopefully that helps. That's the goal. So past that, I wanted to mention probably the 2 biggest things that I would want to know when I started this little adventure that I learned over the time, right? Like the biggest takeaways from these 6 months. And I've boiled them down to 2, I think. Maybe like 2.5. But the initial one is being the most competitive in your area. I don't want to get too into detail about this. I did do a video about like improving your Facebook Marketplace ads, which are kind of along the same vein as this topic. So if you want to watch that, that might give you a little bit more smaller, helpful tips, pointers, things of that nature. But what I mainly am referring to is you want to have the best prices, you want to have the best photos, you want to have the best quality product, you want to be the most communicative, you want to be the most respectful, you want to have the best reviews, you always want to aim to be the best, and that sounds like the most cliche advice you could ever, possibly receive, but I think it goes a bit deeper than that. Not a lot of people really actually strive to be the best. They strive to be adequate to the point where it works, and then they just, I'm done. If you look around, other, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Gumtree, eBay, whatever you're using to sell, and you're seeing products at a much higher standard than yours, and they're cheaper than yours, and, they're faster than yours, then you're doing something wrong. And that's probably not the best thing to hear. You probably don't want to hear that, but if you want to be successful, you got to be better than the rest. That's how basic business works. So when I look around in my general area, in my immediate area, there isn't a lot of competition. I mean, I have like a few people here and there selling, a couple computers, maybe one like old gaming rig or something. But generally, like, their descriptions are lacking, or their photos suck, or it's really hard to get in contact with them, or like there's usually some shortfall that I try and be better at. If you look at a more broad area around me, there is 1 or 2 other sellers that I would say are about on par with me. They do things better than me. I think I do things better than them. Obviously, it's all opinionated. The seller I'm talking to is a subscriber. He'll probably watch the video, so he does a phenomenal job, honestly. Like, sometimes I'm a bit jealous about the prices he puts up and the computers he does, but, sometimes I tip my hat and I think I've done better. But it's a little game back and forth, even if he's not aware he's playing it. But I think that's probably the biggest thing to stress is... Also, what comes with this is you have to have passion to do it. If you're just doing it for a hobby, if you're just doing it because you think it's cool, whatever, I feel like you're going to have a hard time really pushing yourself to go the extra mile to give a quality product to the consumer. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I need to say this and not sound like a Hallmark card. At the end of the day, the money doesn't matter. It does. Like that's one of the reasons for doing it, is earning money to do cool things and eat food. That's fantastic, right? But I think why I really like doing it is it allows me to kind of flex my computer knowledge that I have no one else to talk to about, right? Like, when customers ask me questions, I generally know the answer. When they have problems or they need, their friends have problems, I'm always there to help. I like giving them quality products that they're, like, proud to brag about with their friends. Like, there's countless times that I've sold a computer to someone and they'll send me a message. They're like, hey, my buddy bought this Best Buy computer for like twice the price and he's having all these problems and it's slow and he can't run the max settings and stuff. And it's cool. It's cool to be, I wouldn't say I'm the best, but it's cool to be quality. It's probably the best term to use. And you really should take pride in that because, behind the camera, I did put a lot of work into the business for the 6 months I did it. I plan on putting a lot of more work into it again. And it's really nice to see hard work pay off. I feel like this kind of business is really attuned to that. The more work you put in, the more enjoyment you get out, or the more profit, I guess. I mean, people do things for different reasons. This is my main reason for doing it, and I feel like it's a good reason for someone else to do it. But that might be a little bit too deep or too base for some of you, so we'll kind of skim because I've been talking about this for a fair bit. But we'll go on to the second point. The second point is a bit bland. I've mentioned it before, but staying organized is immensely important. And, I probably sound like your 5th grade teacher who's like, you gotta keep your notes organized. You gotta make sure that you index them. If you don't index them, then you're losing time when you're trying to scan your notes and you just get lost and then your handwriting's all cramped up. It's bad. I know it sounds like I'm nagging you, but staying very, very organized is very important, and I'm not perfect at it. I'm far from perfect at it, but because I'm not perfect at it, I understand the shortfalls of not staying organized. It's much more than getting a good spreadsheet and keeping your numbers in check. Physical organization also matters a fair bit. My office got so messy to the point where I was losing whole graphics cards and motherboards that I had no idea where they were. Cables, adapters, different things that were essential for getting this thing to plug into this thing, and I can't find them. I was pretty good throughout, but again, not perfect. So the two main pillars of staying organized in this kind of business is great numbers, spreadsheet, data kind of organized, which I have my own spreadsheet system that's been working pretty well. And then the physical aspect of having drawers and shelves and certain spaces and, things of that nature to keep the physical components and wires and the computers organized on that end. I change my organization month to month, kind of trying to adapt and fix certain things that I had with the initial organizing scheme. Never quite found the perfect solution, but eventually I feel like I would have, or I will, and then I will gladly share that with you. But I don't want to ramble too long. This is my first foray back into the YouTube scene after a little bit of a break, so I don't want to ramble and bore all of you existing viewers to death. 2 things that I should note before I kick off? Before I disappear into oblivion, that's much more my style. Is we went from 100 subscribers at the end of the 5th month roundup to 300 subscribers. So I tripled my subscribers by doing nothing for 2 months, which is kind of fun, I guess. But that's super great, and I appreciate everybody who clicks that subscribe button. I am very happy to bring you content that you enjoy. A lot of the feedback has been positive, which is phenomenal. It's great. That feel-good Hallmark feeling. You always get me with those little thumbs up. So that's fantastic. A lot of the videos have been getting way more than I thought they would. I think one of my case reviews is about to hit 8K. The first month video, I think, is at like 4K, which is way more than I thought I was going to get. But I feel like every YouTuber says that. But now I just feel how they feel. So I'm one of them. Not even close. But anyway. So I really do appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me. You know, it might not be big in the grand scheme of internet and YouTube, but it really does bring a smile to my face every time someone comments that they've started flipping because of me, or they took my advice to heart and they changed something. You know, that's the goal of this. You know, I'm not doing this for clout or money. You know, I like YouTube stuff and I like helping people, so it's a good combination of the two. So I'm just glad it's paying off in that way. So, but that's about it. Again, Q&A videos coming up hopefully soon. The organization videos coming up soon. My goal is to hopefully start posting a video a week. We'll see how that holds up. I don't make promises I can't keep, so I'm not going to make that promise, but I will try my best. If you like the video and like the return to form, then hit that like button. If you think I'm too nerdy and I ramble too much and I bored you to tears, then you probably haven't reached this far, but you can feel free to hit that dislike button. If you want to see more of my PC flipping adventure, then hit that subscribe button and I will try my best to keep you around. So, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. It's good to be back. I will see you later.